On the website of Reddit, the a-holes are represented by two separate but equally important groups. The people who ask for judgments, and those who judge them. These are their stories. Am I the a-hole for leaving my girlfriend at the bar after what she did? I'm a 30 male, and my girlfriend, 25, lost her job recently, and she's been going out drinking a lot because of it. She'd get heavily drunk and would need me to come pick her up at odd hours when I'm working or sleeping. By the way, I hate going to bars, and one of the reasons is that I'm a recovering alcoholic. No shame in saying it, I'm proud to say that I've been sober for 16 months. Not easy, but was able to achieve this goal. It's still hard being exposed to alcohol, but I do my best to suck it up and be there for my girlfriend to take her home safely. Last night, she called me at 1 a.m. telling me she drank too much and wanted me to come pick her up and take her home. I drove to the bar she was at and saw her sitting at the counter. I told her it was time to go, but she suddenly started acting weird and yelling at me to get away from her, and that she didn't know who I was. I told her to stop it, but she kept insisting I wasn't her real boyfriend she was waiting for, and I needed to step away. The bartender noticed and asked if there was a problem. My girlfriend told him to kick me out, but I explained I was her boyfriend, and she kept denying and then laughing. The bartender didn't believe me and told me to leave. Things got heated. I walked out for a few minutes, then back inside to tell her we needed to go. She started laughing, then got a guy who looked like the bouncer involved, telling him I was bothering her and that she didn't know who I was. The guy sternly said, "Hey man, you need to leave or I'll call the cops." After I gave my ID and identification that belonged to me and my girlfriend, he got loud and insisted. I threw my hands in the air and said, "Okay, fine, I'm leaving. I'm going home without you, Katie." She kept laughing and I got into my car and left feeling pissed as hell. An hour later, one of her friends got her home and she didn't even seem that drunk. She was mad, asking why I left her at the bar. I was puzzled. I reminded her of what happened, but she stopped me saying she knew and was aware, but pulled this as a prank to get a reaction out of me. I was dumbfounded. She said she was joking and didn't expect I'd actually leave and thought I was waiting for her outside in my car. She even said she couldn't believe I left her there with no way home. I argued this was her fault for how she behaved, and she kept saying it was a prank and I shouldn't have taken it seriously. She ranted about how unreliable I was and how poorly I reacted to a joke. She's still arguing about it and blaming me for leaving. I get she's going through hard times and wants to chill a little, but I thought her behavior was not okay. We've been together for 5 years. This is the first time she's done something like this, and I thought that she may not be thinking rationally due to her struggle with losing her job. By the way, she's not a heavy drinker, but after losing her job, she started drinking often. Though she never brings any alcohol home, I still have to deal with the smell and such. Whew, wow, okay. So I feel like I might get a little bit of flack for this, but right out of the gate, my initial reaction is everybody sucks here. Very soft, everybody sucks here. Because I will agree that from your perspective, it was a little uncool of you to leave your girlfriend leave your girlfriend at the bar without a way home. Like, to me, that seems a little unsafe and irresponsible, you know. I feel like, personally, like, maybe you should have waited out in the car. You could have called one of her friends or something to ensure she got home safe. I feel like you were a little irresponsible there. That said, your girlfriend is an absolute a-hole. Like, what the hell was she even doing? Like, that is so uncool. She could have gotten you in serious legal trouble. Like, the way she was saying, "I don't know this guy. Like, I don't know who the hell this guy is." She was getting the bouncer involved, the bartender involved. Like, they had every reason in that scenario to call the police. And you could have easily went to jail for that, for harassment or whatever the actual law is. That is so not okay. So, yeah, I'm saying everyone sucks here, but, like, the line definitely leans way more into a-holery for your girlfriend, because that is just super uncool. Am I the a-hole for not taking my niece back to work at my daycare center after this? I'm a 36-year-old woman, and I've been running a small daycare center in a city I live in with big demands for childcare. My brother lives in the same city and was complaining about my niece, who's 20, not finding a job to afford rent. He asked if she could come work at my daycare since she has experience with kids. I agreed to give and receive help, since I needed to hire an additional employee. The first couple of weeks were fine, but days later she came to me asking for money to buy something that wasn't urgent, but I told her that just like any other employee, she needed to wait till she receives her salary since it wasn't urgent. She tried to convince me to give her money, but I let her know that work is work and she's not my niece while working, so she had to wait. Days ago, something strange happened. We have a kid who's 6 years old who has an iPad that he brings with him every time. When the dad, my client, came to pick up his son, he noticed that the iPad was gone. We looked for it everywhere. I asked my employees and no one saw it. I found out my niece was responsible for the kid's care that day, and after I asked her, she said that she left it charging, then saw one of my employees take it. My employee swore she didn't touch it, and said she saw my niece take it off the charger. The whole argument was she said versus she said. I checked the cameras and saw my niece hide the iPad behind the dumpster near the door. That was it for me. I lashed out at her and said she's not working for me anymore. She cried and begged for me to give her a chance since she had no choice and did this to get money she needed for rent. I refused to argue with her. You can only imagine how small I felt when giving the dad back the iPad. It's a shame because my client is a good man and we both had conversations and meetings outside of work. My brother came to talk and said me kicking my niece out over some client was a huge overreaction on my part and that everyone deserves a second chance since my niece has shown how committed she is in other areas of the daycare. I argued that my reputation is all that matters and if anyone knew about this, I'm screwed. I honestly can't take this risk and rehire her. Besides the fact she falsely accused one of my employees of stealing the iPad when it was her who hid it, then I explained how this made my client feel, which is awful. My brother called me unbelievable for choosing a client's feelings over my relationship with my niece and said I overreacted since my niece apologized and the iPad was returned. He got other family members involved, saying while my niece made a mistake, she is worthy of a second chance. Okay, so your niece, who's 20 years old, who's an adult, fully aware of consequences to her actions, decided to steal an iPad from the place she works. And people are surprised that she got fired for it. Like, regardless of whether or not her aunt owns the daycare, she committed a crime. She tried to steal from a child. She deserves to be fired. Literally everything you just said is so right. This is your business. This is your reputation that's on the line here. How do you think it would look if this client found out that you rehired her because she was your niece, even though she tried to steal from his child? Like, when a parent drops a kid off at a daycare, they need to know that their child is safe, that it's completely safe, and any infraction will not be taken lightly, right? So you made the right call firing your niece, and of course, hiring her now would be like a huge mistake. So no, you are definitely not the a-hole here, OP. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to pass down my engagement ring to my future daughter-in-law? My son, Sam, is 26, and his longtime girlfriend, now fiancée Emily, finally decided to get married. They had announced their engagement privately to my husband and me, and after the initial excitement, they said they had something important to talk to me about. Sam wanted my engagement ring to give to Emily. Sam said this would be a great way to keep him from starting his marriage in debt and from having to buy a new expensive diamond ring. Emily also added that she has liked the look of my ring a lot and would love for me to pass it down to her. I love my engagement ring. I've worn it every day since my husband proposed to me with it, and to be honest, I still have plenty of years left to live that I want to keep wearing it until I am old and gray. Also, my ring is not a family heirloom. My husband chose and bought this ring for me many years ago. So I told them that I appreciated them wanting my ring, but no, I wanted to keep it. I listed out the reasons above and how I don't want to part with my ring yet for the rest of my still long life. However, when I am old, I would be more than happy to give it to their future children. Well, Sam and Emily weren't happy with my answer, and Sam actually called me selfish and materialistic. He said that diamonds are a scam and asked how I could let him go into debt to buy a new ring. Emily was disappointed and said that she had hoped that my ring could become a family heirloom and it would be a token of accepting her into our family. I have always liked Emily and we always got along great. They also said that I could keep my wedding band, so it wasn't like they were leaving me without any rings to wear. Am I the a-hole? And then down below, OP includes an edit. Edit. Thanks to everyone who commented. I liked reading about your own engagement rings and diamond alternatives. My husband did defend me and had told our son to leave and walk it off when he started arguing with me. He said he is on my side and would have respected my decision with the ring, but he admitted that he was happy that I still love the ring so much after all these years. Okay, so you may have noticed a little earlier, I actually stopped to laugh halfway through that post. That's because this is just so ridiculous that your son would actually say, Mom, I want your diamond ring. I don't want to have to buy one, so I just want the one that you have. Like, how does that even seem even remotely reasonable to ask someone if they could just give you their engagement ring that they've had for years? Honestly, it sounds like your son just really doesn't want to have to buy a ring, and he wants to just make you feel bad enough so that you'll give him yours. No, you are not the a-hole here. Am I the a-hole for not letting a man have my seat on his flight to sit with his family? I'm a 17-year-old girl, and I recently went to visit my aunt and uncle for my 17th birthday. I flew there about a week ago and had to leave last night. My first flight was perfectly normal and I had no problems. I arrived to the airport last night for a red-eye flight at 9 p.m. I got on my connecting flight at 6 a.m. this morning. I was flying out of a massive airport. I've never flown anywhere alone before this trip. I get on my plane and it's packed full. I sit at my seat and I'm sitting in the window seat and there is a woman, a baby, and her son. She asks me if her son can take the window seat because he gets nervous. He looked about 7, and I had no problem with that, so I switched. The rest of the flight was boarding, and just as I put my earphones in to sleep, she taps my shoulder and asks if I could switch seats with her husband that's sitting behind us. I look behind me, and this man is sitting in between 2 big men. Not fat, just big, if you know what I mean. Now, I'm not about to say I'm scared of all men, but sitting in between 2 men for 7 hours sounds terrible, so I told her no. She said please, and said this was their first flight as a family together, but I said I wasn't comfortable switching rows. 5 minutes later, he tapped on my shoulder and asked me if he could please sit with his family. I said, no, I'm sorry. I already switched once. She gave me stares for like 20 minutes and I fell asleep before getting tapped awake by the flight attendant asking to see my ticket because this man told them I was in his seat. I was pissed. And my ticket was on my phone and I had to connect to the shitty airplane Wi-Fi. It was a whole thing. They complained to the flight attendant more, but I stood my ground. They eventually told him to sit down, and for the rest of the flight, she was talking to him loudly, giving me stares, sending her kids to go to the bathroom a lot, so I had to get up every time. When I landed, I told my parents what happened, and my dad was pissed and said I did the right thing, but my mom said the man just wanted to sit with his family, so I shouldn't care and let them be together. She said they were probably excited to fly together, and I could have slept on the flight. I was thinking, and they probably did want to sit together really badly, so maybe I should have let them. Am I the a-hole? Let's see. Is OP the a-hole for paying for a flight and wanting to be comfortable on said flight and not wanting to swap seats with somebody else who paid for their seat? No, you're not the a-hole. Like, right out of the gates, it was above and beyond niceness for you to swap with the kid because, kids, they're on flights, they get nervous, it happens. But it's not like the kid was alone on the flight if you didn't switch, like they had their mom, right? And the dad was just 1 row behind. This was not about the family wanting to be together or anything like that. This is because the dad just didn't want to sit next to the 2 giant guys, and they assumed they could take advantage of your niceness. Absolutely not the a-hole. Good job for standing your ground, OP. Thanks to everyone who watched this video. Sorry it's been so long since my last upload. Life has been testing me, and my teachers always told me how much I suck at tests. But I'm not giving up. I like making these videos, and I want to keep on trying. And to those of you who have been sticking around, thank you for your support. If you liked this video, be sure to give a thumbs up and hit subscribe for more. Also, comment down below any other subreddits you'd like to see next. Till the next time, this is TheBlueJacket signing off.